Hey, folks, welcome to Florida Blood Bowl Podcast live call-in show. I'm Carlos.
Big
With me. Hey, and notice lacking our boy James, aka James Beard. So it's just us today running the show. Big Benny K's got some announcements. We're gonna go through some updates on some recent tournament play. And hopefully take some of your phone calls to talk about what you've been playing Blood Bowl wise. So kick it off.
Awesome. Yeah. So speaking of James, he's out adventuring with a couple of other Florida Blood Bowl legends of their, and they are out. I can't remember where the heck they are right now. So I'm hoping that they call in and say hi at some point. They're out doing some adventures. I think they're in like Louisiana or Missouri or something. It's crazy. But we just had a great weekend over in Savannah, Georgia. We had the Savannah Bowl, the Safari Bowl, excuse me, in Savannah, Georgia, and it was an adventure, and it was really cool. I'd like to talk a little bit about that as we go along. We've had some ups and downs over the last couple of weeks with the Blood Bowl 3 release. I'd like to get some people's perspective on that as we talk a little bit here today. And then, just kind of go off on some tangents about some of the different things that are upcoming in the near future. So, yeah, so we got some shots from the Safari Bowl. And this was kind of an adventure for me.
Savannah, Georgia looks like a beautiful city.
It was beautiful. So many, cobblestone or brick walkways. It just had that ancient, antiquated feel to it that you want from a city that is so robust with trade, and still is, interestingly enough. It's one of the most used ports in the United States for export, from what I've heard, or import, one of the two.
Most used.
But it's very used, and we were down by the river there at the convention center, so we were all the time seeing these big container ships coming and going and driving around, carrying all sorts of who knows what going all over the place. And some of them have like where they're going and where they're going from, and one of them was going to Singapore, of course, which is another trade destination. So just really cool to see the industry. And then of course it's a pretty touristy town. A lot of people are there to party. We had a lot of bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. We could see them running around doing their thing. So Florida Blood will fit right in on that. But we had some.
I see a lot of Florida Blood Bowl in attendance here, and I mean even all the way from Miami, right?
Yeah, we had some folks come up. Oh, there's Beard right there.
Yeah,
Miami.
That's a haul, man.
Our farthest guy came from England to play. And he ended up playing Snotlings and got best defense. So just nuts, some of the stuff that we saw. There's a snap of my team there. I'm on the end doing something with John Alberto, it looks like. And,
what was the format for this event? You talked about teams.
Oh, so it was nuts. So you had a shared budget, and the budget was, I can't remember, but it was around an average of like 1.15 million or something, right? But you had a little bit of flexibility, so each team could be a little bit under or a little bit over, so that they could allow someone else to have some of that budget as well. So
you can siphon off of your teammates' budget to add to yours.
Yeah, you could be within like 50K or something. Like it wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough. So if one person wanted to play elves and the other person was playing like Underworld or something, they could make it work pretty easily.
Nice.
There were a couple other restrictions. The teams were divided into like 5 or 6 tiers. Nobody could be in the same tier unless they were part of this. Or no, they could be in the same tier, but they couldn't be. They had a certain number of points allocated. So the bottom tiers had the least amount of points, and the top tiers had the most. And depending on the situation, you had to keep it under a certain budget. which was really cool. And then there was a special challenger group that kept theirs at the very minimum of points, which was around 5. So you could have like 4 stunty teams and like a Nurgle or something. And that was something that a lot of people did. And apparently about half the teams there were challenger teams. So people were really shooting for that at that event. So, but it was really cool. Shots. 5 rounds. The convention center, as you can see, it wasn't too big, but it wasn't obviously not small. It was perfect so that we could get all 4 players against all 4 other players on the same tables and really get in there. There's my guys. I was playing Underworld. Soul played Skaven, Tom played Necro, and then Nick Blackie ended up playing Snotlings, which was cool. So we all kind of stepped, except for Soul and Tom. We all kind of stepped out of our usual teams and tried something a little bit different. So,
I've always tended to regret that feeling. Like I go out, travel somewhere, try something different, and it doesn't work out for me, and then I come, the whole drive back. That's all I'm thinking about. But I'm also one of those tryhards. Unabashedly, I'm one of those tryhards.
I was kind of with you there. Soul and I were going over. We had a day, so like we took it a little bit more seriously, but also like this is part of the fun for us is the planning. So we actually took a day. We're like, let's practice, and we didn't really end up playing. We just ended up sitting around a table, talking strategy, talking meta, and we all kind of came up with teams that we'd like, and we ranked.
We call that in the X-Wing world when I was big in the X-Wing scene. We called that dojo.
Yeah,
we would come together. We wouldn't play a match. We might play a few rounds or try out different scenarios, like different plays, and kind of dojo it up, we'd call it.
It was a good thing because we kind of all worked out what we wanted to play. Tom and Soul came in very solidly with the teams that they wanted. But me and Nick were kind of like up in the air. We didn't really know what we wanted to play, and so we kind of figured out a nice medium ground there. So we saw a lot of stars. A lot of people were building star team, with a lot of star players. We actually ended up only team. Just one guy took 1 hack flem, and that was all we ended up with. So, and I noticed that in some of the other teams as well, that some of the other just ended up foregoing stars entirely so that they could take more skills. So we will see what happens in the future if that's a portent of the star era starting to phase out.
I wonder what would trigger that kind of waning on the stars. Is it almost self-policing, right? Like as a group?
Part of the. I think it was more about the package, right? So if you took some of the stars, you had to basically forego like 12 SPP. This package was a little bit more uniquely written, where you could stack skills without any SPP penalty. You know how like if you put a skill on a guy, normally the first one is 6 and the second would be 8, and then it goes up. The way the rules were worded didn't include that, so we ended up actually stacking a lot of skills. On my Underworld team, I just took, I think 4 players only had skills, but each one had 2. So it was just a little bit more, you could build your little mini stars that way. So
when you do that cost benefit analysis, it's better to stack those skills on those 4 players than to lose the SPP. That would have given you 3 more skills. Yeah, it would have took a bunch of star. I mean, I could have got a star, but it would have took a few skills. And then, you're also looking at the cost of the star versus some of the extras that you get, like rerolls. And I actually took a keg for the first time in a while. And it worked out pretty well. I was a little skeptical at first, but everyone was like, they talked me into it, and I had a model that I wanted to use for it. So I was like, all right, we'll try it out and see what happens. And it ended up benefiting quite a bit. Those kegs, especially with the teams that have stunty, they end up making a little bit more of a difference than you'd think. And just looking at this picture, it's like you could think this could be anywhere in Florida. You see, I mean, all the faces that I recognize here from just Florida Blood Bowl alone down this road. It's like y'all went over there and took it over.
So the Challenger winner was actually a group from Georgia.
Good.
I met some of
Good
them
for
before.
them.
Yeah, they were an awesome group of guys too, and I met a lot of them at Giga Bowl back at the beginning of last year, and they just super improved and got a lot better. They had just started in the past year, but they apparently have gotten a lot of momentum with their leagues. They've got several stores that are running leagues and tournaments. And it's just crazy. So they just really took up the mantle and came out and started wrecking everybody. And I had a chance to play against a couple of them, and we had a lot of fun. And a couple of the guys came out and partied with us, so they could hang that way too.
Yeah, it's one thing for us, to all show up into their territory. It's great to see them, hold their own and take the win.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
It adds a little bit of fun to it. That local, this is my block. We're going to defend it.
Yeah. So there was a lot of interesting stuff. Team events are really unique to me, and I really like them a lot, and I'd like to see more of them. And James has been awesome about doing some this year. I think sometimes when we do too many, then you hear the moaning and groaning. But because it's like they do require you to have a partner or partners and have a little bit of strategy together. And not everybody wants to do that. So I totally get where that can be an inconvenience. But I think 1 or 2 a year is really unique. And I think we have a lot of fun with it. And these are some from the painting contest. Some of the elephants we were given. This one was the winner.
Oh yeah, no doubt. This
Denny,
thing is amazing.
I can't remember his last name right now, but Denny, he had just an immaculately painted Slan team that beat the crap right out of me. And then he also brought this masterpiece with him. And funny enough, he had posted a picture on one of the painting. I'm in a bunch of different painting groups on Facebook, and he posted that picture out there well before the tournament. And he was like, "Oh, I'm just working on something for a painting contest." And I ended up seeing it, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not bringing mine's still sitting right here unpainted. I'm like, I'm not.
After seeing that, yeah.
It's,
hello, caller. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Barry from Tampa.
My man, Walter Berry.
So, talking on the topic of cost analysis and not taking star players, that's very much how I'm planning for my Amazon team for U.S. Open, because based on the skill packages and the cost, in order to take a star player, I would have to give up a skill on one of my players. It would be pretty much 2,000 gold to fit any of the decent Amazon star players. Plus, after playing Amazons a couple of times, I find that an apothecary and kegs are so much more valuable with a team that's all AV8 except for one position that's AV9. I'd much rather have the kegs and the apothecary than the star player.
I think that's a good point, and I like to see some of those inducements being taken more often than just trying to take as much money as you can and pour it into a star. So that is a unique thing. I think is going to start coming back, because I don't have a problem with stars. I think that they have their place, but I do think you should sacrifice to take one. It should represent an investment of your team, because they are really good.
The one thing that I kind of wish would go away, but I know it's not going to anytime soon, is especially with the GW play guide, they basically did tier ranking for teams. It's kind of like, I kind of feel like if you're going to play a tier 3 team, then that should be on you, that you chose to play a tier 3 team, and not, well, here, we gave you enough extra points that your tier 3 team will now buy you 1 or 2 of the best star players of the game, and therefore
you're tier 1.
Really still, yeah, are you really a tier 3 team if you're running both, like Griff and Morg? Like at that point, I kind of felt like Blood Bowl was designed as an unbalanced game. And if you want to play Stunty, the whole point was that you're choosing to play a team that's not tier 1. If you choose to play Vampires, you're choosing a team that's not tier 1. But, it seems like everything is, all the tournaments lately and going on are, all right, if you choose to be 2 or 3, we'll give you more SPP, or, we'll let you. Like, one of the reasons I wasn't going to take any stars was because the only stars I was really considering maybe taking for the Amazons were the two Blizzard stars. I forget what their names are.
Yeah,
Nod and Dribble or something. Yeah, I thought about taking them, but as a tier 1 team, under U.S. Open rules, you can only have 1 star, so I couldn't take them.
Oh.
That and the fact that I don't own official minis for them, so I would have had to go buy one from Forge World. But again,
That's
a
a
tier
big
3
deal.
team can take 2 stars. A tier 1 team can only take 1 star. And if you're going to take a Mega Star as a tier 1 team, you're giving up a bunch to do it.
Yeah.
Plus, I like I said, go ahead.
Oh, no, I agree with you on that. I think that, and not every team has equal access either. Up until recently, the Sylvanian and the Lustrian access is kind of not very good. I mean, Sylvanian's still not very good. There's only 1 or 2 players on there that I would ever consider. And the same thing.
So you're taking Wilhelm or no one?
Yeah, Wilhelm.
I'm sorry,
or maybe
or a Bomber.
Or the Bomber if they have one. I think we'll see some more stars for those coming out. But it looks like everybody gets a Bomber, just about, except for Elves and Sylvanian and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Are the rules out for the U.S. Open? Is the rule set out?
Yes, they are out. And I've pretty much already got my team set. My plan is to play. One of the reasons I decided to play Amazons is it's one of the few teams that you buy the box and you have the whole team. You're not missing any positionals.
Well, that's true.
Because, you have to use GW minis, and even though I have a couple GW teams, there's still positions for them that I did not go buy a second box to fill those positions. So it was like, I was like, what team can I just buy a box and have everything I need? And Amazon seemed like the best choice for that. And now that I've been playing them, I really like their play style. I think I found my team. They have enough. They have enough AV and dodge that you could get out of situations, but they don't have those strength 2 pieces that Skaven had that made playing defense really difficult for me. I find I could play offense and defense pretty equally with Amazons, where other teams like Skaven, I felt I could play a great offense, but my defense, I'm like, unless this guy screws up, how the hell do I pop this ball out of this cage? Because I'm like, oh, the guy who can catch him is the strength 2 guy. That's not helpful. Where Amazon's is like, no one's under strength 3, and you have 2 strength 4 pieces.
Barry, what do you know about the sign-ups for the U.S. Open, that process? What can you share with the folks at home that you know?
Right now, tickets are open for sale. If you look up GW U.S. Open Tampa, it should come up and you can buy the tickets. I think they're like $60 for the tickets. It's going to be a Saturday, Sunday event with a free Sevens tournament Friday night, I believe. And it's going to be at the convention center downtown.
I'm thinking about popping over there for that. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It's still a while out.
It is. It's a ways away. I think it's in November.
October, I think.
November, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's October because it's right before Chaos. It's the month before Chaos Cup.
Right.
So right now it's like I'm kind of playing Amazons at every tournament coming up except for Stunty Slam.
Is it the
But
one they're
other than
calling
that,
the Floridian Fracas?
Yes, the Floridian Fracas, I think.
So I'm going to play them in the upcoming Armada League, which today's the last day to sign up. If people want to sign up for that, we have 9 players currently. So
I'm signed up for that, so I'm just getting the rule set down and starting to put some pencil to paper to figure out my roster.
And Carlos, if you were going to go to TKC, you probably want to find a partner because partners are scarce to find at the moment. It is a team event.
How many players on the team?
Just 2.
Two coaches per team?
Two-person teams, yes.
All right, Barry, have you picked up a buddy yet?
Yep, and me and Eric are playing together.
All right, so I'm going to start trying to nail down the dates with family and make sure that I'm good to go. Wifey was just asking me if I signed up yet.
Yeah, pulling some people we don't see too often. Some people from your local store there.
Yeah, find a local friend or something.
Yeah,
because that kind of event, that TKC event, has been just so much fun for me. I'm not too try hard for that one.
Yeah.
Well, I was originally the first person I was going to ask was actually Jack from Armada, but he's getting his father-in-law back into the game, so his father-in-law was going to be his partner.
Oh, sweet.
And then I just kind of started going down my list, and it was like, already have a partner, already have a partner, already have a partner.
God, it feels like high school all over again.
And I was going to ask you, but I wasn't sure if you were going. So finally, I'm like, Eric, do you have a partner yet? He's like, no. I'm like, you do now. So
I think this one's fun because it does have the player swap in it, which I really like. I think that makes a team event a lot more interesting. So at the beginning of each match, after you know what your match is going to be, you have an opportunity to switch a player with your allied team. So there's a lot of cool potential there. And Tom and I played in December. They did a Christmas with the Cthulhu one. And it was really fun, and we had a good time, and we had made the most of it. I was giving him like a Skaven thrower with leader for his expensive Necro team that, he couldn't buy rerolls and couldn't get a thrower. And so, he I think he maybe even ran Cheney that had catch. So there was a little bit of a combo there. And then I just took a flesh golem to hold the line because my Skaven were so squishy. So there's a lot of cool, I think people can maximize it. I think Tom and I are going to do stunties this time. I think we're going to do halflings and goblins together at last.
And if you don't switch players, each coach that does it gets a free prayer Snuffle roll.
Right. Which I don't think is that effective. I think it's better to try to find something that's worth switching with your opponent or with your ally, because it's just, I don't think that's, prayer to Nuffle roll could be just a drive where everyone on the, or 3 players on the opposing team have loner +1 or something, or loner +2. It's just not, it's not as game changing as giving a dwarf to an elf player and vice versa. Because I think that's the classic trade. You take dwarf lineman for a wood elf lineman, and just think about how much that changes both of those teams.
Right. I think we did that. I think it was TKC a couple of years ago. We had an event where we had some swapping going on.
Yeah.
And that worked out great for me, being able to give up a dwarf to really help my teammate out.
But it's cool. There's a lot of potential there. And I think a lot of it, me and Tom were just looking at all sorts of team combos. We're just what can we do with this? What can we do with that? Dark elves and high elves together would have been a cool combo, because the high elves don't get so many blitzers. You give them a blitzer or a witch elf, and then in return, they give over one of their passing guys. So just really cool combos that you could come up with that change the way the game is played. You can't trait stars though. A couple years ago, we had an issue with that. So the star trading would have been just too powerful, because I think, then you have one player who just dumps all their team value into Morg and ends up just handing them over to their to the the player next to them and just kind of gives up their win for them. And it's not as much fun, you know. You can still kind of do that to a degree, but it's not quite the same.
I'd really have to like you, like as a teammate.
What's what I was trying to convince Tom. I'm like, why don't you just run dwarves and give my goblins a death roller, and I'll just bribe it out, you know? And he's like, nah, not doing it.
Oh, Carlos, the 28th of this month is Sevens tournament. Your favorite format?
Oof.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be in Ocala with my boy John Betzel. So I gotta say good things about that one because that's his first tournament that he's trying to run, and I think he's going to do a good job on it. He's got some cool mats for prizes, and he's just trying to bring a couple of tournaments more local for this side of the coast.
So Jack and I are riding up for that one. If you decide to go, you can ride with us if you want to.
End of the month.
Yep.
End of the month.
All right, I told wifey we were talking this past weekend. We got to get a calendar out because there's so many events this year. I feel like everything is turning on. Like the spigot is full of different types of events.
It's true. It's true. And, you know, having a baby, man, changes the whole dynamic. Like,
oh, you know, you're in there with me.
I am. I got to do a fair amount of events last year and the year before, but I just, I pay for it a little bit with, I gotta be baby duty a couple of days and here and there. And, and I love it too. It's not like it's a chore or anything. It's just that sometimes I gotta be,
you have to factor it in at the end of the day. It has to be factored in.
It gets easier as they get older though. So.
And it did. Like I this is my fourth kid. Before we had her, the oldest was 10. And like I was in my stride, my gaming stride. Like everything was, we were doing all kinds of gaming.
Out.
Right. But we needed that girl, man. We needed that girl because that boy's not going to take care of you when you're old. Those girls do. And it's like, wow, kids hit different at 40 than they do when you're in your 30s.
I can imagine.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world because at the end of the day, this too shall pass, and I'll be back to gaming full stride all over again.
All right, guys, have a good one.
All right, Barry, we appreciate you being the first caller in tonight, man. Thank you.
I think it's good, buddy. Yeah, it was a good one. Oh yeah, Walter's always a good supporter of Florida Blood Bowl. Always gives us a call and has something interesting to talk about.
See, we got the name here for the winner.
Denny Franks. Yeah. And, awesome guy to play against. Just really, really good player. Very technical with his placement. And I guess, why should we be surprised when we see the kind of stuff that he's painting there, I really like to see good paint on a mini though. Not that everybody has to be a good painter. I don't think that, I'm not a great painter, but I like to see when people put some effort into it and they, really are proud of the team that they're running because it just makes the game a little more interesting, So.
All right, I just put in for my tickets for the Florida Open. I didn't realize the tickets were up. So I grabbed the U.S. Open. Now, there's another event that same weekend that I got to make some decisions on now. There's a Louisiana event for board gaming.
Oh,
so I can get a refund on this one, but
what is it over in Louisiana? Is it?
There's a board game festival. I got to go for the first time last year, and it was attached to a music and food festival.
Oh,
so just think about that. I'm drinking Louisiana beer, eating Louisiana food, while playing board games for like 3 days straight. It was amazing. But this U.S. Open thing, this is like, not going to happen next year type of deal. Like this is, it's not promised that it's going to come back to Florida.
Well, the hope is that, and this is James's kind of baby right now, is the hope is that if we get enough support for these types of things, they did one last year, they're doing 3 this year, maybe they'll do some more next year. And then they might do like an invitational thing for all the people that are winners of them and ship them up somewhere. And I guess some of the other GW games do stuff like that too. So it's possible that if it continues to grow, it could be important. But I've always loved to make it. I would love to make it out to Origins sometime. I've just
Ohio?
I've always heard good things about it, and I'm just like, but it's a trek, and
Yeah, I made the drive up there to the city that hosts Origins, Columbus, and it is a gaming city. It is definitely a gaming city. There's many GameStop, game stores, game restaurants, beautiful places, big places for board gaming. I felt it was even off season. It wasn't even Origins time frame. It was for an event my wife was going to, but I felt fully welcomed by the city as a gamer. So going to Origins would be pretty cool.
It's cool. I was just talking to a coworker today about that. I was like, it's a shame because there are a lot of games I'd like to play, but if I have the people that I usually like to play with around me, we're going to play like Blood Bowl or an RPG or something we all kind of know and don't get to play very often. And so all those board games kind of sit in the shelf and don't get played that much.
Unfortunate. So here's the winning model. That was gorgeous. Period.
Absolutely.
And I think some closing photos here.
Yeah. Big crew. I think we had 55 or 54 people come out. So quite a crew there.
That is a good turnout.
Absolutely. And a lot of them, a lot of Florida guys, but that was kind of the point. We wanted to bring the Florida experience to Georgia so they could experience it and kind of develop their own events that were similar, or if they didn't like it, they could be dissimilar, but I think they really enjoyed it. I think the guys that came out had the right attitude. They were the kind
That's Eric, isn't it? Back there.
Oh,
that's funny.
I'm in the alligator hat. Let's see.
His head popping out the top of the sign here.
Yeah, Eric's usually hiding. He usually doesn't want to be
seen.
seen.
He is hiding back there. That's funny.
But it's just really good. Those were the right kind of guys to come out because you can't take a Blood Bowl event too seriously. You want to have fun.
Says who?
I don't know. You gotta have drinks and have fun and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you want to respect the people that are playing there. It's not something you just drop if you aren't doing well, or you rage if you're not doing well, because this is a big commitment for a lot of people. So you got to have the right kind of people, which is important.
No, I joke, but it's
no, I know.
All right, so let's talk about some of these top players. Did you meet up against any of them? Any comments on? I mean, there's a lot of halflings up here.
Yeah. So our top guy here, John Reeder, I believe he came all the way from England.
This is the what's the word I'm looking for here? The Stunties, right? And this is Stunty group.
These are the ranked Stunties. And so he was just amazing. I didn't get to play him. He just apparently just went nuts and swept all the games and stuff. And
oh geez, look at that. 13 points. Yeah, he did. He whooped up.
He was nuts. And I think they even he was just crazy. So for Snotlings, which are a good team if you know how to pilot them correctly. And I guess he just really
0 touchdowns against.
Yeah, totally just stuffed everybody. Could not let anybody score on him. I don't know what his build was. I'd love to and he says North Carolina rep is there as well. I'm sure there were some other people there that I didn't totally notice. I had 1 or 2 drinks, maybe. So, but no. And then the second guy down the list, Isaac, I had a chance to party with him a little bit. Really cool guy. He ran halflings. Another player on his team ran halflings, and they did play against us, the Safari Wrestling Federation. And they ended up winning the Challenger. They ended up winning the Challenger thing, which is cool. Kind of like the Team Stunty Cup.
Right.
So, yeah, very, very interesting.
Gainesville Gangsters, Vegas Gangsters.
But my own, let's see, where's Nick Blackie? He's right smack dab in the middle there. So he didn't. He didn't.
Snotling Team Nature Coast.
Yeah, he did pretty good though. He held down.
Hello, caller. State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, it's Walter again from Tampa.
My man.
Hey, I wanted to mention on something Ben had just said about how an event like this, Blood Bowlers don't rage quit. They keep playing all the way in. that is so much different than X-Wing. How many times did we travel to X-Wing events, and after round 1 or 2, someone dropped, and then someone ends up with a bye, and you're sitting there for... The worst was that store championship at Stuff and Podunk.
Oh, my gosh.
Where I ended up having a bye right before lunch, and it was like an hour and a half lunch. So before I got to play my next game, it was like 3 hours of waiting, not getting to do anything. And unlike Florida Blood Bowl, where, you know, everyone's cool, fun to hang out, talk to, X-Wing was so not like that.
And X-Wing was even a better culture than a lot of other competitive miniatures games. Like, I considered X-Wing to be a better culture than some of the Magic the Gathering groups and some of the Warhammer groups. So, I mean, that says a lot about Blood Bowl, and it's even a step above what I thought was a decent group.
Yeah. There's just a culture. There's just a culture of kind of like, don't drop. It's your opponent for the most part. And I think that maybe has to do with the demographics, too. Like, these are adults, and a lot of people have families. A lot of people had to take time off to be at this event or take time away from their family. So there's just a more of a level of respect than when maybe we're all teenagers and we're bored, we're going to drop, and then,
and I may have done that myself. The big difference is the age difference, is the fact that you're right. It is more older people, more family people playing Blood Bowl, where X-Wing was a bunch of like 19 and 20-year-olds who had nothing else to do but play. If they lost a round or two, they would just quit and go home, and not, taking the fact that means someone else doesn't get to play.
Right.
And, when you're going to an all-day event and you don't get to play, it's like, great, I was supposed to play, 4 or 5 rounds, and I only got to play 3. You're like, I could have stayed home.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that, Blood Bowl, even if I'm bottom of the table, I'm still enjoying myself. I'm still having fun because I'm still with the people that I want to be there with. X-Wing, other than the people I rode up with, I never felt that way about other X-Wing players. I'd still hang out with Carlos or Zeno, but other than them, I wasn't really interested in watching other people's games. Where in, Blood Bowl, even if I'm having a bad day, I'm still there with people who are like, hey, great to see you. Glad you made it out. So for me, it's more of the people I'm playing with more than necessarily, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Blood Bowl, but for me, it's the community is the reason I want to be involved.
And I'll tell you, like watching an X-Wing match, watching an X-Wing match as a spectator, like during a tournament when you're not actively playing, was more like participating in a golf event. You had to be there and not visible and silent, right? Everybody's golf clapping it. But at a Blood Bowl event, I feel more like I'm a sports spectator watching a sports ball game being played in front of me with cheering and rowdiness and just much more enjoyable.
Where, Blood Bowl, the middle of watching someone play, you'll be like, watch, he's going to double skull that. And sure enough, he double skulls it. And then,
and then there's like a round of applause.
Late from the table. Yes. Like, I think my skull that James caught on tape with my spinner will go down in infamy. Every time they're talking about, like, they just roll that.
One of the most expensive sculling out I've seen.
So,
well, thanks again for the call.
Yeah.
You know what? That's
You're
2
welcome.
calls on one show. We appreciate it.
Well, it looks like tonight's kind of low call volume, so
that's okay.
Ben had mentioned about people taking time to show up to Blood Bowl events, and that was one of the big differences I see now playing Blood Bowl versus X-Wing. Was I can never think it. If someone drops in a Blood Bowl event, it's not because they lost and they were salty. It's because something important came up.
Right.
Like, absolutely. I can only ever think of 1 or 2 times where someone left early, and that was normally because a family issue came up or they weren't feeling well. So have a good one.
Good night, Barry. We'll talk to you again later, I'm sure. The comment to that effect in the post here, Dusdorf says, been to 63 tourneys and only once had one person rage quit in round 2.
And that's crazy to think about because I've had like, I used to play a lot of Magic, and that was just common. You just rage and you take home your cards and go home. So, just kind of surprised with the amount of drama, not drama, but the amount of like passion that goes into a game like this and the swinginess that there just isn't more of that. But
But this game also, I will say, trains you for that emotional roller coaster, because in that 2.5 hour match, you're going through so many emotional roller coasters just in that 2.5 hours of, this is the worst game ever. How the heck am I going to get out of this? To, oh my gosh, I think I have a path. There's a way. You're telling me there's a chance? There's a chance. And then, oh, no, that chance is taken away from you. So that emotional roller coaster in that one micro game is good training for the day of the event, where you're going to have some good matches and you're going to have some bad matches. But at the end, if you ride that wave, you're not going to find any other game systems going to give you that emotional roller coaster.
so it looks like we're looking at the overall stats here. Woohoo. So my boy Soul here took it. He took it home, and take a look at his. Let me see if I'm looking at this right. His touchdowns were just nuts.
15.
And I think that's 15. I mean, that's just crazy.
How many games played over that tournament? Five.
Games.
So averaging 3 a game.
Yeah.
That's high.
And that is, I mean, Skaven can pull it off, but it's more interesting to see that too when you see how Soul plays. And I learned a lot about how he plays recently, and it gives me a really interesting perspective because he plays for the win with like a 2-1 or 1-0 win. He doesn't go for like the slaughtering that you'd think a Skaven would go for. It's just trying to score as much as you can, as fast as you can. He really goes with this reserved, like, trying to keep his opponent from getting turns, and a lot of stalling and a lot of keeping the ball away, even if it requires retreating a little bit. It's just a really interesting play style, and I learned a lot from it. And he kind of helped me develop my skills a little bit, the underworld. Because
there's some crossover between the underworld and the Skaven play.
Yeah, and you can kind of do some of the things that Skaven does a little bit better. Like, I like goblins better than line rats most of the time, just because they come with dodge and they're a little bit easier to keep on their feet sometimes. So
he follows the John Madden adage: score more touchdowns than the other team and you'll win.
Yeah,
that's it. Also, like, you don't have to overdo it. Just score more than them.
Just score more than them and play good defense. And it's kind of interesting because he's a very defensive Skaven player, which is unusual, as Walter was saying in his call, that, Skaven sometimes struggle with defense. So to see that being one of his primary goals is just interesting. But like I said, really great player. Not a surprise at all that he was doing so well. What I was kind of surprised by is our second player there is, has a same record. And we got into a discussion about this because he's got the same record of wins.
15 points.
And so the points are the same. His wins, draws, and losses are exactly the same. Slightly less touchdowns. But at the end of the day, he played very similarly. So it's almost like we wish we had one more round, we could have had them two duke it out and see who really came out on top. But it's just, that's Blood Bowl sometimes. And sometimes it does come down to strength of schedule. As we can see, Soul's, his opponent's score was a little higher by like 3 or so points. And this happened to me one time too, when I was at Chaos Cup Sevens a couple years ago, and the second place player had exactly the same record as I did, and it came all down to strength of schedule. Like, we had almost the same amount. I think we had the same number of touchdowns and all this stuff. So like, it was really interesting to see like how the strength of schedule can actually kind of put you above somebody else that you didn't even play. And we were talking about how it's luck of the draw, because you could get drawn up with a player at the very first round who is going to end up on the bottom of the rung, and you have no control over that. Whereas, someone else who got matched against a good player to start may end up higher up.
But then there's that whole aspect of, in the animal documentary world, when you observe something, you change it, right? The fact that you played that person, that could have been a strong person that day, but because of how you beat them down, maybe emotionally or otherwise, they're now a lower ranked player for the day because you kind of like crushed their dreams early on. You see what I'm saying? So is it really that they were a lesser player, or did you like whop them psychologically into the bottom, of the ranks? Shout out to my man Ron Frazier out of Hot Atlanta. He says, I've never even played Blood Bowl, but I even know about the Skaven play style. So in hearing our conversations, he's familiar with that style of play. So thanks for joining the chat, Ron.
Yeah, Ron. Hey, Ron, we'll get you to play sometime. We'll get you to play. But yeah, there's a lot of, that's the thing about players. And I was reading some articles recently about tilting. And there was one that I can't remember the author, and he wrote it very well. And it's on the NAF website. And I got to give credit to him if I can think of who it is. But it was just about like how you don't want to go into a tournament and just kind of psychologically dump it at a certain point, right? You say, I'm doing badly. I'm just gonna, give up, or I'm gonna rage, and just kind of like you can't do that, because like at a certain point, then you start making bad decisions, and that really changed my mindset reading that article, because like the best players I know, sometimes they will do that tilting, and you can tell then their day is over at that point. But most of them don't. And they call it, the tilting thing. And I don't know. It just kind of got me to think a little bit differently about the way that, yes, you're going to get it back. You're going to get a drawback. Your best player is going to get killed. You're going to end up getting scored to the point where you don't think you can recover. But it's just one game of many, or it's one turn of many, or it's one player of many. And you just kind of have to keep going on and on. And don't be afraid to take the ridiculous risks.
And I mean, I know it's a bit nuts, but it's a book I read, authored by the name of Trevor Moawad, Moawad. He was a sports therapist for lots of football players, like top end football players, basketball players, and his concept was what you talked about there, was a neutral mindset. You can't be super positive. You can't be super negative. You got to find neutral. You can't tilt, like you were saying. No matter what happened that play before, you got to think, all right, in this play, what's my objective? What's my goal? Stay mission task oriented, and not let the last play impact the next play. So, I mean, that was an awesome book series that I read from him. It Takes What It Takes is the book, and I think another one, Neutral Mindset, is the other one that he did. So on that line of thinking, and for folks that want to, I'll tell you, man, my wife keeps pointing this out. Like I don't come home the same when I play a Blood Bowl tournament than I do any other tournament. She's like, you are so different. Like I can see that when you have a bad day, I can see the saltiness. When you have a good day, I can see a change. Like Blood Bowl, it teaches you how to deal with emotions, and that's why I keep coming back to this game.
There are two players that I am I'm very aware of their psychological perspectives on it, right? One of them is John Alberto, and I played him in the first round. And then obviously Chris Nelson, our Florida man, who currently is streaming somewhere on, I think, BB3 or BB2. And that might be why we're not getting as many call-ins as usual, because I think he's taken some of our audience away. But both of those guys are just really good at getting you to, and they're great to play against. I love playing against John Alberto, and I love playing against Florida Man, but they'll get you to second guess yourself. You're about to do something. They'll be like, oh, or just
I knew you were going to do that.
They'll just be like, or even just a facial expression, and it just gets you to second guess. But if you know that about them, then you kind of know I'm onto something, So after a while, you kind of read some of your players and know some of the people that you play against. But I do think that psychological aspect is something that we don't factor in a lot of the time. Just being able to kind of stay nimble on your mind, and just kind of being able to adapt and being able to psych somebody else out, maybe even. And I don't like to do that too much. And I don't like when people I think there's a line you can cross, but I also think there's a good amount of that you can do without crossing that line. And, you got to be careful, but
yeah, don't be a dick. Right, that's rule number one. Don't be a dick. But it's all part of the game.
It's all
And then
part
and
of the
then back
game.
on this third player here, because we had Alex Alonso in second. Third player, this was the winner of the Stunty Cup, John Reeder, right?
Yeah, and he
Comment
ended
in the
up
chat here. John Reeder played Hackflem and Morg with 2 flings.
John Reeder. He was the okay. I thought he was the Snotling player, but maybe not.
Right, I think it is John Reeder, right?
Yeah. So
No.
I don't know. He had 2 fling teammates, maybe, or like
Were y'all able to swap players?
we weren't able to swap players in this. So
Okay.
but no, I mean I do think that star players were a big deal. And
Oh, I'm sorry. Correction here in the chat. Flingas, not flings.
Okay.
Flingas.
Okay, no, I was thinking something.
We're back to
different.
Snots.
No, he I didn't see what he played, but I believe it because that sounds like the way to play, man. Get those 2 good players in there. I think Nick tried to build his Snotlings a little bit differently, where he was throwing some skills around and trying to get the Flingas to have accurate and stuff like that. Whereas maybe at the end of the day, it was just better to have 2 reliable stars that you could just punch holes with and just let the Snotlings swarm.
Well, the defense, 0 touchdowns against on 5 games.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's nuts. And it's nuts. I'd love to see his roster because I wonder if he ran the riotous rookies. I always have kind of like a soft spot in my heart for that because you can get yourself up above 16 players, which I think is kind of interesting, but not really cost effective either. So, and then you got right under him, you got Chris Nelson, who obviously our Florida man, who has quite the reputation for being very good player, very diverse player, and just kind of
much more balanced results when you see 8 touchdowns and 3 against, right? His not super high scoring, not letting a lot through, whereas above him and the 3 above him, they feel more the bell curve isn't right. It's either a lot of touchdowns or no touchdowns.
And I can't remember what he was playing. I think it was Norse or something along those lines. So certain teams just don't play well to that style either, So his team may have been more defensive, and you're just trying for that 2-1 win or 1-0 win. And that's a valid strategy as well. But yeah, Chris, he's one of those players that if you guys get a chance to watch, I would say any of those guys up there at the top, if you get a chance to watch them sometime, they're all just really great players. I'm just going down the line all the way down to me there. That's where the good players end. You got to cut me out for that. But yeah, all those guys up there are just really good players. And a lot of people will say that the dice are a big factor, and they are, and some of those dice rolls are a big factor, but I do think some of the better players are willing to take the crazier rolls, and they know when to take them and they know when to ignore them. And so it's sometimes those kinds of things, because I've seen, I've seen some crazy things that you just shouldn't try. And I've been on the end of that too. I've been like, well, I'm going to dodge into a cage and blitz this guy. It's an uphill block, whatever. And then all of a sudden you roll 2 6s and double pows. And it's like, well, I guess it worked.
So I'm going to do it again next time.
So I don't know. It's worth the try. So just one of the players in here too that I was especially impressed with is we got Eric Nyberger in here, and he is running Blackworks in this tournament, and running Blackworks in a lot of tournaments, and plans to take them to World Cup. And I was kind of like, Blackworks, they're kind of almost like a stunty team. They're kind of like ogres or bad lizard men, as a lot of people refer to them. But he has just been rocking them, and he was on top table at the very end, playing against Seoul, our winner, John Lackey. So it was crazy. And some of that stuff is matchups, because the matchup of a Black Orcs against Skaven, they just can't keep up very well because they're all movement 4 and 6,
right?
But some of that stuff, it's it's pretty impressive to see a team that is categorically kind of counted out to be brought into a competitive scene that ends up being really doing well. So,
well, thanks for the rundown. It was great to do that look back to Safari Bowl, kind of get your insight as an attendee. And
Yeah, and James puts a lot of work into these things, and James put out a little survey afterwards, and he really takes it seriously. So, if you attended this, please give him your feedback. But I like to consider a couple things, really quickly about this tournament. It was a $60 tournament, and we got 5 rounds. We played at a convention center for 2 days. And not only that, then he was giving out stuff. I can't even keep track of the stuff he was giving out, to be honest with you. So not only were there awards and teams for winners and stuff, but he was giving out teams at regular intervals. He was giving out dice at regular intervals. Everybody got swag, which was like 2 sets of D6s, a cool enamel pin that I have right here. I actually put it on one of my cases already. Oh, other side, wait. Mirrored, this cool Safari Bowl enamel pin that I've got going on here. And gosh, I can't seem to, I'm mirrored. And then there was like a patch and a miniature and all this other stuff, stickers. I couldn't even keep track of all this stuff. So, like at the first you say, well, $60 is kind of a lot for a tournament, but then you see what you get with it. And then it was like, it's really legit. And yeah, you had to go and travel to go do it, and that was a little bit extra expenses. But I think,
But by making it a team event, I'm sure you're able to split those expenses with your team buddies. So I mean that was, I think, in hindsight, I'm not sure if that's planned or not, but that helps. By making it a team event, you're going to tend to travel together, tend to eat together, tend to stay together.
And the team thing is kind of a double-edged sword, So we say, and I like the team, like that's my thing, right? I love it. I love having other people that I can play with.
Who is Dewsdorf? I keep seeing the name, and I don't have a. Do we know who the real person Dewsdorf is?
Dewsdorf, you got to call in, man. You got to give us a call.
North Carolina's got to represent.
If you were there, I got to.
He said he was there, and he won a team.
And he probably saw me.
Was a great tourney.
Being silly.
Did he say hi? Did he like?
I can't. I'm really bad about all that kind of stuff. So like,
Dewsdorf's gonna have to call in. Robert Eddy. Robert Eddy. Well, hello, Robert. This is a call-in show, by the way.
Yeah, call us in though and say hey. Because like, I'm always excited to meet. But yeah,
let me pull the rankings back out. Let's see where Robert landed.
At the end of the day, it's hard because then you worry that you might dissuade someone who can't put a team together from
Beans and Dice podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
It is Robert Eddy.
There we go. That's how it's done. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, I was there. I had we came from North Carolina. We had a good time.
Awesome to hear that, man.
Who was on your team?
I missed out most casualties. It was me, Denny Franks, Lucas Espinoza, and Paul Vernon. Carolina Incorporated.
Carolina Incorporated?
I played against Denny. Oh, look at these ugly guys.
Oh, you don't even know. Where's it at? Grab it.
Hey, James.
James Luft is joining us on the stream there, Robert.
We got something to show you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got something to show us.
Uh-oh. Better not be anything obscene.
Yeah. Let me get my blur.
2-second delay here. Come on. What do you got for us?
Robert, they're showing us something here. I'm curious to see.
I know he's trying to show us something.
It looks heavy. Is that a Chaos Cup trophy?
It might be.
That is the cup. Oh my gosh, that looks heavy.
Oh shit.
Is it coming home with you, James? Getting ready for Chaos Cup?
It's been officially handed off from Jeff. It's coming back with us from Tennessee. It'll be in Florida on Sunday.
I thought that was a white glove only handling trophy. Like you had to have white gloves and the guy in the suit next to it watching it.
You gotta handcuff it to yourself.
That's very cool, James.
Yeah, we just wanted to pop in and say hi, but we're hanging out in Tennessee. We're gonna play some games to get ready for Chaos Cup. What are we doing? Goblin knife fights. We're doing death roller races. We're gonna have a good time.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks for popping in. That's a beautiful view.
You guys have a good evening.
Where are you guys? You guys have some crazy plan to go visit. So you were in Savannah last week, and now you're in Nashville, and then you're going somewhere else next week, is it?
No,
Established 1797.
possibly I was thinking about going to Mississippi, but I couldn't find anybody to go with me.
So you're quite the traveler. It's quite the trek. So
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. this was well worth it. Savannah last week and Nashville this week, Tennessee this week. It's all a good time.
Good. Well, travel safe and get that trophy down here safe.
You guys,
We will see it in November.
absolutely. I expect everybody in Florida to be there. Spread the word.
What about you, Robert? You coming down from North Carolina for Chaos Cup?
Hell yeah.
Look at that. North Carolina is representing too.
Oh.
Way to be.
Oh, hell yeah. Me, Denny, Lucas,
We loved
we're
having
coming
you.
down
Ben and
in
Great. Thank you.
yep. Had a good time. So
Yeah, your guy Denny, man, what a painter, crazy painter. I love it. Love to see it.
All right, I'm out.
he is an awesome painter. And think he's only been playing Blood Bowl for about 3-4 years now. Well, since the Moral Cup there in Virginia. That's how long he's been playing.
You know, Robert is old school when he talks about people only having played Blood Bowl for 3 or 4 years only.
Yeah.
I've been playing since 91, 92.
You see, like he considers it like I'm a babe in his mind when it comes to Blood Bowl. I've only been around 2 or 3 years. I'm a babe. I'm still getting my legs under me.
I think that's a big part of the game, though, too, is we don't get, and this is where, communities like Dungeons and Dragons and some of the other things, we get hung up on our old editions. And if you could see, I've got my old first edition books up there. We get hung up on those things, and then we just kind of dismiss the newer editions, and we kind of give, but I don't feel like the Blood Bowl community has so much done that. And I was worried that when the 2020 rules came out, that there would be kind of like a schism.
We thought there was going to be a split.
I
don't know, Robert, did y'all feel that up in North Carolina, that when the new edition came out, that there was going to be a split in players?
We thought so. I'm not a big fan of the new rules, to be honest, but it's more for league play. Yeah, I've always been, when you level a guy up, you roll the dice, you see what happens. Not that you can, earn enough SCP and then pick a skill. But I play dwarves, so my whole objective is to beat the snot out of you and bring the death roller.
Who did you play on my team? Was it Nick Blackie, the Snotling guy?
Yeah, Nick Blackie fucking wrecked me. What, 5? Hold on, I got it. I got the thing from it right here. It was 5-0. I caused 8 casualties to his 2.
Wow.
He had no.
What was he doing over there? Was it hack flam? Was it just bullshit hack flam stuff?
Yeah, I want to say it was hack. It was hack flam. And he scored on turn. I got the ball. He scored on turn 4. I want to say I actually had. Did I lose the death roller at that point, or did I keep it till turn 8? But I couldn't stop. It was like anytime I wanted to pick up the ball, boom, damn it, and had boom, boom, and gone. But anytime I hit something, it died. I'm just trying to kill things as fast as I can. But overall, I caused 20 casualties. What hurt me was I played against Skaven and I only caused like 2 casualties.
Isn't that
and
the
game
way
1 was versus Chaos. Oh my! I was so annoyed. I went for more casualties. I brought dwarves, 3 guard, 3 mighty blow, and a death roller, and a bribe, 1 reroll. I think I'm gonna get rid of the bribe and go back to reroll because with 1 reroll, that cost me a couple of games where I think I could have gotten a tie, or if I had to burn on turn 2. It's like, oh shit! Now I don't have another reroll. But then I played halflings and lost. I never had a reroll, so.
Oh yeah. So
I think 23 casualties was the most based on what I saw. And Robert Eddy, on the show right now, caller right now, had 20. So you were right up there.
was it Doombeard that got the most, or?
Let's see, 23.
No, Doombeard only calls 19. I beat Doombeard out. And I let Doombeard know that.
You let him know that. Parks took it.
Like, yeah,
Ken Parks, 23 cash.
Wow, with Underworld, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ken's a great player though too. Like he is just nuts.
He's a horrible human being, but a good player.
Yeah, no, just terrible guy. No, but no, I love him. He's a good
Lovely
dude.
lovely family.
He's something. He loves his stunty teams, and I mean he's good at them. He can run those halflings like nobody's business last year when he was doing the year of the fling. So not surprised that those skills kind of translate to Underworld. So Robert, Death Roller or no Death Roller is the what is your opinion on that?
Death Roller.
Death Roller every time, like always worth the money if you have it.
And I've had games where the damn thing didn't do. I had game one North. It got knocked out knocked out on turn 2. He knocked it down and then fouled it and took it out on turn 2, and then he kept the ball and scored on his turn 8. So no bribe. I would always feel Death Roller 1, but I love the mob.
Well, because at the end of the day, now you're looking at a bribe plus 170K. That's almost a griff, you know?
Yeah, but normally I don't feel the bribe.
Okay.
At Savannah, I brought a bribe, and it hurt me. Normally, I'd feel 2 or 3 rerolls and the Death Roller, and I just go with I receive, and I'm gonna punt everything I can and take out as many of your players as I can. Score on my turn 8. Yeah, I lose the Death Roller. Okay, well, it's done. It's hopefully by that time in one half it's done its turn. It's done its worth. So
Snarlings have some kind of magical aura on them because I was playing against a Tomb Kings player, and he's a really good guy, good player, knew what he was doing. My Snotlings just confounded him because every time he would try to hurt them with 3-die blocks, they would just sidestep and dodge away, and just keep a bunch of guys tied up. And he was just like kicking the same Snotlings around. And even if he did once in a while knock them over, then he'd roll like a 2 for like the armor break, and they would just stand back up again next turn. So sometimes those players with no armor just end up sticking around the whole game and causing a lot of trouble. It's nuts.
Yep.
Any highlights that you want to end off sharing with the folks at home from your trip to Savannah, Georgia? It doesn't have to be game specific. It could be just anything about the event, the people. That's part of the adventure, part of the trip that we love.
Just the drive down with Denny and that was a great time. Everything about the whole weekend was great. I got to play 5 rounds. I brought my dwarves. We had a blast. Got to eat food, play Blood Bowl, and meet, literally play a new player every round because we never played anybody down there. So it was a great time to have 5 new players and to be able to, and everybody's like, dwarves? Because no one likes playing against dwarves for some reason. So
we have so many stunties don't like to play against dwarves. It's my least favorite team to play against just because I like to play halflings and they get annihilated. So,
well, Robert, when you see us in person, I mean, don't be afraid to, shove up.
I said something. I said, hey to everyone in that, and I remember the alligator hat, and you gave the beer to Benny.
Yeah. No, we had a couple beers, and that was my thing. Is I tried to have a couple things prepared for my opponents. I had a little guy I painted up. I hope Denny cherishes it forever. That I painted all my opponents a little creature with my name on the bottom of it. I mean, I felt so bad giving it to him because I'm like, well, look at this guy with this, amazing paint job. And
here's my horrible little,
just don't look at it. You can repaint it if you want.
No,
don't judge me.
No.
But
Denny's definitely not like that,
But it was no, he's a great guy. I love it. You guys were cool guys to play against. I just think it was really nice to be able to play against some people from outside of Florida, and I'd love to get out there and maybe, if you guys do, I don't know, is there any word about Smoky Mountain Bowl coming back?
No, because that's done over. But somebody said that it's going to get the league running up there again, so we'll see.
Okay.
But I went to the first one, and that was the worst tournament I've ever been to.
Oh no.
And that's only because that was a tournament that my opponent conceded on turn 2. And you play round 1, you come hour and a half for lunch. 10 minutes in, he gets up and walks away.
Ouch.
And I hadn't even done anything yet, but his star player dodged into a tackle zone, failed, dodge reroll, won, break armor, casualty. He's like, I quit. I was like, dude, we're no.
Yeah.
Packaged up on. Oh, I was pissed. I let him know that was bullshit.
I'd be pissed too.
And we came from here, so that's like a 6-hour drive that we made that morning. So I was not happy. But I would love this. It was a great tournament. Besides that, but I'm into both of them, so I got both the shirts. So
I think I remember now. Yeah, and the thing is, guys, it'd be so good to have you guys come to the Chaos Cup and TKC and the Open and all these things. And it's like, well, obviously he can't come to all of them, but we always welcome people. And it always seems like a couple people do trickle into some of those events. Like I think TKC, we had some people from Utah coming over and stuff too, so like you never know who you're going to get. And that's the fun thing about Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the tournament in Ocala.
Really?
Because my parents live in Lady Lake. Well, this one coming up is at the same time as Benny's tournament. So,
and the 28th of March.
We got Yep.
Are you
You'll be there,
Blended Bowl.
Robert? You'll be there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because that's the same weekend as Benny's tournament.
Okay, so you guys are having one up there.
Well, we're going to do more in Ocala in the future. Like that's where I live very close to that. There's 2 great game stores. Bearded Browncoat did. They supported a league for a little while that, had some issues, mostly because I didn't show up to some of the matches. But and then there's another one out there, Warp Fire, and both of those stores seem to be very supportive. So we'll try to support them by bringing some people in, and
yeah. Well, I'm going to be there the weekend of the 7th of April at my parents' place. So, I'll definitely check out the game store. So,
is there any other events in Florida at the time? I don't know. Hit us up though. Otherwise, we're always up for trying to throw some people together and do something. So
yeah, you can tell James traveling around picking up that Chaos Cup trophy.
That is cool. I can't wait for Chaos Cup.
Well, that might be where I end up bringing. If you don't come to U.S. Open, that might be where I end up meeting you in person, Robert. So make sure when you see me, shiv me with right in the side and say hi, like for real, like make yourself known.
I will do that when I see you next.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel like the fist right in my rib cage.
Oh man,
appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you for calling in. Yeah, that was good. Good to meet you.
We'll catch you on the next show. See you.
Yep. Bye.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah,
Robert Eddy.
I've been commenting a couple times on previous.
And even on like my board game show, he'll pop in, and it's like, call in, say hi, and and maybe he has before because I tend to drink during the shows, so I tend to forget a lot.
I drink during
and don't be afraid to call me out if I get something wrong because I don't remember so good.
Yeah, that's why I'm so bad with names and faces and everything else.
That catches us up on Safari Bowl. We also wanted to touch on the scandal or the debacle of BB3. How's it been going for you, Big Benny K?
I have not gotten it. I've watched a little bit of stuff. I don't want to get too negative with it because I know that doesn't really benefit the community at all to get negative with it. I was disappointed. I was going to buy it at launch, and then Soul ended up getting an early copy, and kind of I watched him play it and some of the stuff that he ended up dealing with, and I was just like, maybe if I was 3 or 4 years younger and didn't have a kid, I would get it on release, and then I would spend the time and not worry about drops and not worry about bugs and all that kind of stuff and just try to enjoy it. But my time right now is it's better spent not being as frustrated with that. If I want to be frustrated, I'll paint.
It's sad but true.
But I think it's going to be a good game. I do think it will get there. But I don't like that they released it being so buggy and broken. I think that it does show just, and my thing was the people that there were valid criticisms, and then there were people that were kind of, shitting all over it for no reason. And I think that, somewhere the truth was somewhere in the middle there, but I think, and there were a lot of people that came out of the woodwork to defend it. And, as much as it is good to defend it and it is good to like have a product, we need to kind of hold companies accountable. They don't really care if, they don't always care if we care or not, if we buy it or not. It's just like they want to make their quick buck. I think the microtransaction thing was especially egregious, where you could buy one upgrade and it only applied to one player. And from what I've seen,
tell me more about what you know about that microtransaction. Like, when you say buy an upgrade, what do you mean?
So from what I understood, is each player is comprised of like several parts. So I think, they have like a left arm, a right arm, all this kind of stuff in a head, a body. And
okay, like a model.
Yeah, and each model can be customized, in a number of different ways, but each customization costs like warpstone, and warpstone has to be like bought, with real currency, or I guess you can grind out and earn some of it. They haven't really explained too much about that yet.
But we're just talking about aesthetics.
It is just aesthetics. So it doesn't affect
I don't want to hear it. That's what microtransactions are built for. And microtransactions are built for that aesthetic customization.
It's true, but like, I don't know. I played Fall Guys and I was like, I'm gonna play Fall Guys. Well, yeah, I'll buy, and I don't usually buy aesthetic stuff, but I'm like, well, I'm going to play it. I want to look like a Halo Grunt, and Halo Grunt thing's on sale, so I'll pay $5 and buy it. I'm kind of that guy. It's like, well, I bought the game or I got it for free. So microtransactions have their place, I think, but that seemed especially predatory. So
I think it gets egregious when the microtransactions are tied to pay to play, right? Where it's, I pay for better mechanisms or skills in the game, as long as they allow the field to be level, right? Player wise, skill wise, and all the microtransactions are pertaining to cosmetics, then I'm okay.
They supposedly fixed it a little bit, though, from a recent announcement where they're going to say, like, if you buy one hand, it'll apply to all the lineman hands and, that kind of thing. So they fixed it a little bit. I'll believe it if I see it. To me, it very much feels like a free-to-play game, though. Like it is kind of a free-to-play game that you, for some reason, paid $30 for. So I think that, and I made a little meme about that at one point, but I think that that'll change in the future. I think that it will be free. I don't think they're going to get away with charging full price for it after a while, because I think a lot of times the people that were really excited about it probably bought it on release, whether it was good or not, whether it was play tested or not, whether, and I think they were trying to build a product that they could sell to non Blood Bowl. And yeah, no, he's right. He says it was more convoluted than just cosmetics. I think what really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, me included, was that the cosmetics store worked perfectly. And it did exactly how it worked right. And then the game
itself is garbage, but your ability to buy stuff, that was on point.
So like, their priorities just didn't seem in line with what the community wanted. So I don't know. I'm skeptical about it still, but if it does, and part of me also was a little hurt that it was supposed to be cross-platform and it was supposed to have a Switch release as well.
Blood Bowl was just about spilling blood and wrenching balls.
And so
that's what I'm looking forward to, is the English is not my first language. Cross compatibility.
Yeah, and that wasn't present in,
because I had to buy it on my laptop. I had to buy it on my Xbox, and then I could never cross the two. That really bothered me. My teams that I built on one couldn't be played on the other.
And I'm a console gamer.
You're a console gamer first?
I'm a console gamer. Like, I used to be a PC gamer when I was younger, and I had the energy and the time and the money to but now it's like, hey, I just want to fire it up and play. Like, so I know the console is not the superior thing, and I'm running, like, I like the Switch especially because
No, I'm a console gamer too when it comes to Blood Bowl. I even port my Xbox controller when I'm playing it on the PC. When I'm playing it on the laptop, I plug in my Xbox controller because to me that was just my mode of play.
And it doesn't have to look that good. It doesn't really need to look that good because the graphics only affect it to a certain extent. So I liked Blood Bowl 2. I played a lot of Blood Bowl 2 with Destin Dossie, and that was kind of a way that he and I refined a lot of our skills and had a lot of fun. But
yeah, I got into Blood Bowl 2019, and my first league got shortened because of COVID. So Blood Bowl 2 became what I played during the COVID times. I hosted some leagues, some tournaments within my group, brought some people into the fold that way. So Blood Bowl 2 on Steam was a big part of me continuing to grow with Blood Bowl even when we were locked down.
And we have to give a little bit of credit where credit's due and Fumble. And I know that, I get cheers of ecstasy and groans of despair when I mention Fumble. But it is a free platform that you can play Blood Bowl, and with the most current rules and the most current updates, and it's a free platform maintained by volunteers. It looks dated. It has dated graphics. It looks like something that would run on probably like a DOS engine or something, But it's part of the charm, I guess.
It's got that NES, 8-bit kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Which is actually cute. It's like it draws me to it. I think one day we need to do a separate a session like this, maybe a walkthrough of how to set it up, because I've played around with it, but I've never actually played a match.
We should do that. We just play some casual Fumble on the
just
show.
How to download, how to install, how to set it up, how to get it going.
That's the beauty of it, is you don't have to download it or install it. It's all done.
It's all web based, right?
Yeah, it's all web based. It's through Java. So, like, yes, not perfect, right? Not perfect in any way, and not pretty, but a functioning game that allows you to connect. And so our experience was a little bit different when COVID hit. We ended up playing on Fumble a lot, and it's still not my favorite thing because, like, a big part of me will not be satisfied by a video game in any way, because a lot of it for me is the models and the face-to-face communication and just kind of sitting down across the table from somebody. But if I have that itch to scratch and I haven't been able to play, I think Fumble really kind of can scratch that itch in some ways. So it's great practice too, If you're
what other topics do we have for the folks at home? What other topics do we have for the folks at home?
Oh, that was just about it. We are, I was kind of light on subjects today. I kind of thought maybe we'd have a few more callers, but I do think Fridays might not be the best for the show any longer if Chris Nelson is going to continue to stream on Friday nights. He's getting a little audience that's getting bigger. I've watched him a couple times. We could do a crossover with him sometime or drop in on him sometime. But, he just kind of ends up playing some Blood Bowl 2 or 3 against somebody, usually a Florida person. And it's kind of interesting. Sometimes he'll like set little challenges for himself. And I think he was playing Nurgle one night, and he was like going to only score with the bloaters, and didn't work out too well for him. But he, tries to make it a little interesting. So I think that might be where some of our viewers are tonight. And then I know that, James and his guys on the road that.
Yeah, I'm up for Sunday nights as well. Kind of an end of the weekend, catch people up on what we did that week. That's also an option. We can move to that format.
Yeah, and I'd just like to hear some people's opinions on some things. So, like, part of we've been publishing our zine for a while. Some of y'all have seen it, I hope. If you haven't, contact James or myself, and we'll try to get you some through the mail. The last issue got delayed just because of life and, the universe and everything. And it was interesting. I just want to get some feedback on that too. Yeah, and if you want to call in, please, yes.
Yeah, the phone line's still open. I know TJ was out at LVO, right?
Yeah, I've seen so many pictures of him out now, and he's just like goating out to the stuff and rocking it and just being, jumping head first into Blood
Getting an
Bowl.
LVO update would be cool.
If you're gonna call in, TJ, I'm gonna grab a drink and then I should have brought some with me, but I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go grab one real quick. But while we're waiting for that, yeah, there's just like all sorts of interesting topics that I'd like to cover. And if you guys ever have anything interesting that you'd like to say or something you want to type out, a manifesto of sorts. No, and then some of the interesting topics do come from players, like Chris Nelson, for example, as we talked about. He wrote a piece about his opinion on human catchers and how they're just, and I agree with him on it. It's like they need to be 3 strength or 4 agility. Where they are at now, they just don't make a lot of sense. And especially when you're comparing them to some other teams like Slan and Skaven and things like that. So, if you have an opinion like that, or you have something very well thought out that you've thought of and you don't have a position out there to rant about it, like this, it's a great way to get some information out there to people.
Florida Blood Bowl podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Global from Colorado.
My
Awesome.
man.
Yes, sir.
I'll be right back. Get
So,
started. What are you up to?
Yeah, tell us about. I saw a trip to, I believe it was LVO. Did I get that right?
Yeah. That was LVO. LVO was a month and a half ago. Yeah.
And give us the update.
Yeah. So it was wild. I never thought I'd go. I was telling Mark, I was like, all right, dude, this is the most expensive trip I've ever had. So I'm expecting, the whole treatment and whatnot. But no, it was cool. I think it was like 2,000 nerds in total. Took over this hotel, and I hopped off the plane, and I was in the hotel to check in, and I just saw all these like people with these massive like crates of minis. I thought that it was the Blood Bowl crew. I was like, I'm gonna get wrecked. Thankfully, it was the Warhammer crew. So that as soon as I found it, I was like, okay. I was like, I got a chance. And we played. And, it was 84 coaches for the first 11s tournament, 6 rounds, and then the 7s tournament we had 35. But yeah, it was crazy. I got to meet a lot of people. There were some people that had seen me from other tournaments that I didn't see, and that so I was able to speak with them. Exchange contact, info, and just speak Blood Bowl, speak casual Blood Bowl, competitive Blood Bowl. So overall, it was a great time.
Isn't that a great feeling when you show up to a place? And I've been to some cons with 3,800 other nerds, as we say. Everywhere you go, anywhere you're at, you look around, and it's your people. It's like there's that thing, that common thread. You could be standing in line for a coffee and just spark up a nerd conversation with someone around you. It just feels good because at work and at church and at school and at kids' baseball, I'm like the odd man out. Like I can't have that kind of conversation because I'm the weirdo. But at that event, at that hotel, at that place, I could be just picking up a Subway sandwich and there's 3 people in line with the same badge as me and I can just spark up a conversation. It just feels good.
Yeah. No, it was wild. Like we mocked that hotel. Like no one else mattered really, for those few days. And yeah, man, like I even sat in on other, games and whatnot, just, spectating, and actually learned how to play Warhammer Underworlds.
That's a nice one. I love that one.
7th tourney.
I got a whole bunch of that back here, bottom right-hand corner. I got like 4 armies.
Yeah. So I was able to play the Skaven on that. The TO taught me how to play. So he and I had a match right after. Hung out with him and his buddies. It was awesome, dude. Like I definitely want to go back. So yeah, I have no regrets. It was funny. During the tourney, especially day one, I was so nervous. So our tourney was all the way in the back. I was walking from the back all the way up to my hotel room just to be able to relax and whatnot. And I had to speed walk all the way back down. But I was just like, I made the mistake at Chaos Cup. I let some really poor dice rolls affect me, and it bled over to the other match. So I was like,
you got to listen
I'm not
earlier
gonna
in the
let that
show.
happen.
We talked about tilting and how to deal with that. That was a big part of our conversation today.
Yeah.
So make sure you rewind later.
Yeah. Oh, I will. I'm a very cerebral, so I don't tilt. It's more like internally, I'm just like, I cannot believe that happened, or I can't believe that my opponent, consistently rolled out of what would have been game like 5 turns in a row. So I came into LVL. I was like, I came out here. This is a vacation. Like, I don't get many, and I'm not gonna let that happen. So I just just chill, just play some music or whatever, step outside, and then just start over really. And it definitely helped. Ended up going 4-2-0 with Lizardmen, my most hated race. I ended up playing them just because I was like, I'm tired of nerfing myself. So I ended up playing them. It was my second time ever playing them. I hate them that much. But no, it was great. Went 4-2-0. Ended up getting
You let the
place.
hate flow through you?
Yes.
You just embraced it?
Yeah.
Dark side.
Well, I mean, So Skaven are my favorite race. And when I was learning how to play the game, I love them. So I was learning how to play the game, and then my buddy, I taught him how to play. We had to find a good race for him. I was like, you know what? He'll like these guys. And it was Lizardmen. And then he proceeded to fall in love with them, and for 4 years straight, only played Lizardmen. So every time I played them, I'm just getting, casualties left and right. So I absolutely, I hate them with a passion. But I was like, you know what? Just let me, kind of take the lid off and just play them and see what happens. Like, who better to play them? Especially, I'm taking them to World Cup. So I was like, I told my teammates, I was like, hey, who better to play them than someone that's hated them for as long as I have? So,
yeah, you've seen it from both
great.
sides, and that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
You're onto something with that, because that's what I was thinking. Like, I was thinking about taking dwarves to World Cup just because, like, I hate them so much, and I'm like, well, the build's pretty good for them. So,
yeah, right. Yeah. No, I had a blast. So I took 5 Blocksaurus and a Sneaky Good Skink, along with a bench of 2 Skinks. So I had 13 players.
damn.
And that alone demoralized so many opponents when they lined up and they're like, okay, I just got to kill the Skinks. I was like, well, not really. Because one, one, you're not gonna be able to hit them. And 2, I have 8 of them. So
Man, I love that skink game. Like, there are times where I only put out like 3 or 4 Sauruses because I wanted to get all my skinks out. Because, I mean, they can just do some stuff. Like, they can, the piling on, when they can get all those assists in there, I'll surround somebody with a bunch of skinks, and then I'll come in with like a 2-die block from a skink and like knock them out. It just, that's demoralizing, because it wasn't the Saurus that did it. It wasn't the Crocs that did it. It was the skink, him and his 4 buddies.
No, I love the movement, and with the new Sneaky Get rule, those skinks can dominate. And that was exactly what happened. I'm
playing lizards at the next league starting next week, and I'm planning to use lizards for the U.S. Open in October.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. It's funny. I am too. So my season's winding down. I got a playoff match tomorrow doing Black Orcs, so I'm hoping to set them off with a championship. But very next season, I'll be playing the lizards as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Representing the swamp. We appreciate you from Florida. Much love.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Lizards are great. So me and Destin, my buddy, had a similar experience, right? So I was starting with Skaven, and then I got him playing, and he's like really into lizards. So I had a lot of experience playing against lizards and getting the crap out of them. And it's actually kind of a good match. You know, Skaven versus lizards is not bad. It goes back and forth a lot, but it's definitely rough to get your guys beat up a lot.
Yeah,
So.
and especially how he and I were playing, it was like it wasn't just a one-off. Like if it was a one-off, it'd be fine. Like I could go all out and not care how I lose. It was like a kind of like a league format. So the injuries, mattered and whatnot. But
Robert Eddy from North Carolina
good,
is saying. Robert Eddy from North Carolina is saying he's looking at trying to get to LVO next year. Is that a plan for you too, TJ?
Oh yeah. I gotta support Mark when I can. So yeah, I told him, I promised him I'd go, and I did. So I definitely will be back again. Yeah.
All right. So Robert, if you make it down there and you see Lone Wolf Jackson out there, make sure you say hi. Represent for the Beans and Dice / Florida Blood Bowl group. Shake a hand. I love seeing how people who communicate into this channel from different parts of the country have met up in other places and shaken hands. It's great building community through this network.
Yeah, no, it is. But yeah, like I said, my first opponent at Chaos Cup was from Germany. And I was just like, he and I talked about culture for like the first half of the match. And so that was really cool. I did not expect that at all. So yeah, I'm loving. I can't wait for Spain. It'll be my first time, outside the country. That's going to be wild.
Oh, I'm never leaving the country, bro. They let me in once. I don't know if they'll let me in
I know,
again.
you told me. I know you will. I know.
I love that we're getting a good representation though, from the United States because, now I don't know what it was like historically, but I'm super excited. I'm going to go. We got our Florida Blood Bowl team, so I'm really happy to hear that you're going and you've got a team as well. Because the more Americans that are there, that the more that hopefully will be taken seriously. I guess they play very differently over there, though, too.
They do. Yeah,
they're very reserved and they're very they grind out the 1-0 win or the 2-1 win. Whereas we reckless Americans like to play and get a lot of scores, and so I'd just be interesting to see, how they play.
I'm excited. I actually learned from the Europeans, so I have that. So I played more like they do. So I'm excited to go. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm excited to go over there and show them what I learned. I know a few of the guys that are going to be quite a few of the guys that will be there, especially the ones on the top teams. And I also know how they view us Americans. So I wasn't going to go, and then I thought about it. I was like, no, I want to go. I want to help increase the U.S. kind of standard because it has been lacking.
I think we got some great people. I think we got some great players. I think just all around we know how to have fun too.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. Not that they don't, because I think I've seen a lot of them having a lot of fun, and I've been really sometimes. I just think, that's what it's all about, though. It doesn't matter how well you play; it's how much fun are you going to have, and that's part of where I'm at right now, trying to pick a team. I'm like, what am I going to want to play for 9 rounds? What am I going to want to be stuck with?
Yeah.
Am I going to get sick of? I thought about Skaven and Underworld because those are two of my better teams. But I'm just like, I don't know if I want to go all that way to play 2 teams that I play all the time,
right.
Or that maybe I'll get wrecked at. I want to play something a little different. I want to play something I'm going to have fun with. I know that for a lot of people, it's not the time to try something new, but I don't know.
It's not, bro. It's not. I will tell you right there. I don't agree with that idea. Like, especially going that far, spending that much money, right? Playing against that level of player, like. That's a long flight home to be thinking about. Damn it! I wish I would have just went with what I knew.
I don't know. Our team is not going for. I mean, we got Eric on Black Orcs. We got Pat Wynn on Goblins. So far, I'm leaning into halflings. You know, so
Like make your
Really?
funsies like a local tournament that's 3 rounds, right? But
we're
go
just
over
going
there
to
and like play the best team you play.
We're just gonna go play the teams we like to play, you know. And I think, I mean, I don't know.
I'm
I
with
think-
Robert. 9 rounds of dwarves. I'm down. Like I started as a dwarf player. I'm with Robert. Nine rounds of playing as dwarves.
Gus,
I
you
need to
started as a
learn.
dwarf player, Carlos?
Yeah, because I mean, when I played D&D, that was
Dude.
my character. You know, that was
Dude, I may have to block you. I didn't know that.
we can't be
I'm
friends
over
no more.
orc-
We can't be
I'm
friends
over
no
orc
more.
Yeah.
myself. I feel like orcs and dwarves like have this rivalry through D&D, through
Yes,
because they're
Oh
so
yeah,
similar.
yeah.
and then you throw in the elves in there, and I just love it.
I'm just more the orc.
I'm a Gimli fan all the way. You know, that's my thing. But I've explored, I've expanded, I've grown out of it because I figured I had to learn how to add some range and understand how to defend against players that have range and speed, and the only way to do that
You're
is
a
to
man,
play some of those.
yeah,
My balls
yeah,
dropped.
Yeah, you're a man.
I grew up a
yeah,
little
right,
bit.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
My voice
You
got
can't
deeper,
hide
so I thought it was time to play something different.
I think that's a hard thing though, because like I'm trying to get one of my friends to play, and he wanted to start with dwarves, and then he just got really like obliterated because we were playing sevens. And I was just like, play the team you like, obviously, and take a team that you can kind of be passionate about the models and the, all the extra stuff or whatever it is about the thing that you like, right? Because like for me, I have a hard time. I've got a pre-painted, like I got a couple of teams that I bought painted when I found them on like eBay or whatever, and it's like I just don't like playing those teams as much because I didn't paint them myself. Even though like Dark Elves and other teams like that.
Yeah.
So, you kind of have to find what you like and why you like
I don't have the attention span to finish much of what I start in life,
Yeah.
but the dwarf team was the one and only team I ever painted start to finish. And it's all because it connected with me.
And I think
Because
that's a
that
big
dwarf
part.
connected with me, it helped me finish that team and be proud of the models that I put out on the table, including a custom dwarf buggy that I created out of a snotling pump wagon, or a pump wagon that I converted into like a death roller with a half a dwarf inside of it. So I'm proud of that team, like because of that connection to your team. So you're right. Play what you love first, because that's going to give you the encouragement to model it, to paint it, to play it on the table.
I was going to throw you a picture of my favorite team. No, keep going.
So
keep going. Sorry.
for me, it's yeah. So for me, it's different. Like I said, I've only been in for a year and a half. I don't know how to paint, so I got 3 buddies that paint for me. So for me, it's I find a team, it gets printed up, and then like, I paint it, or my friends paint it, and then I play it. So for me, it's like if I spend money on a team, like that's my attachment to it. So, like Dark Elves and Undead and Orcs and Skaven and Chaos Dwarves, High Elves. So those are like that's like my core, of teams.
The good teams.
But for
The
me,
good teams.
yeah. Well, I mean, I like the range, like Tomb Kings as well as Nurgle, which I played last weekend at my tourney. I played Nurgle. Had a blast, but yeah, like it is about what you enjoy, but you do need range as well. So I was going to ask you, Ben, since you are going to World Cup, what did you think of the rule set as far as like being able to take like Snotlings are a viable team?
But it's so restrictive to some teams and not restrictive to other teams, and it makes me sad.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like I'm looking at halflings, and there's 2 options for halflings. It's I run Griffin Carla, or I run no stars and just take the skills. And some teams are just unplayable. Like I don't know how Pat's going to take goblins without bribes and sneaky get combined. Sneaky. It's crazy. I feel like there's a very strong penalty for stars for certain teams, but the teams that can take them don't need that penalty.
Dude, it's wide open. Right.
Yeah, so like even the tier 1
Yeah.
teams where it is like a strict, and here's another thing too that really bothered me, and you kind of go back and do the math, and you can kind of figure out what the skill tax is on every tier, and the skill tax is lighter on the higher tiers. So it costs like 3 skills to get a star in tier 1, whereas it costs like 6 skills to get a star in tier 5 or something, and it's nuts. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. We're going to see a lot of elves, a lot of dwarves, a lot of orcs.
Yeah, and the team that I was trying to get my World Cup team to understand this, but like I said, there's a divide because I look at more of it from a European standpoint. They look at it from an American standpoint. I'm trying to tell them how dangerous the Amazon team is with Morgenthau as the anchor. And so you basically get Morg and Carla because you induce Morg, you get 1 skill, and you put that on the Jaguar chick, and she becomes Carla. And I'm trying to tell them, like, there are going to be European teams that do that, and you're not going to have a fun time,
I'm going to look at that now.
Everyone's like, no, dude, dude, please do, yeah.
I'm going to look at that because I have counted Amazons out. I just look at them now, and I'm just like, there's no block. I don't really like defensive. And so just like to me, they're just kind of like throwaway, but I guess there's potential when all the linemen start with dodge. Obviously that's great. Same thing with Norse. They all start with blocks. So there's potential there, but I'll have to look at that. It's interesting. It's kind of like
dude. And I mean, there's and there's other pockets like Snotlings with like freaking Varric and Hackflim, on top of 2 trolls and and some sneaky good action and blah blah blah. Like, it's just a one-off. Like, if you line up against all of that, you could get tabled like really quickly, and all of a sudden you're losing to a Snotling team at the World Cup when your team needs you to win or draw. So it's. I'm trying to tell my guys, like, it's not about if you would play them, in a U.S. tourney. It's about, are you going to be able to successfully play against that team for 16 turns and win?
9 games. Yeah. 9
Yeah,
rounds.
exactly. Yeah.
That's my biggest. I want to play I kind of want to play dwarves, but I'm not played dwarves before. They're not my favorite team. They have strengths.
I just don't see that going well. Like that, I would not recommend that.
Yeah, I don't know. My skill package for them is like 2 guards on the blitzers. I think 2 block,
Yeah.
2 block on the runner, and then like mighty blow on the
Troll Slayer.
The Mohawk guys. And I'm like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think I would bother with the bulldozer thing, just because I don't want to get called off when I get scored against right away, But I'd run 4 rerolls so that I could go for it more often. And
Yeah.
Get those runners with those rerolls.
But it's just such
you can really move that ball.
It just doesn't feel right. It just feels bad, like.
No. It feels good. It feels good to me. I think Robert agrees.
I'm just not very good at it. I would rather have the mobility, and I like stunty because you can throw the guys and you can dodge a lot, and you can kind of. And just I got spoiled over the weekend with the Snotlings on the Underworld team because they're just like you can put them anywhere you want. You could just dodge around. It's like, oh, they got tackle. Well, I'm not really that worried about it. I'm dodging on a 2-up. It's like,
right. Yeah. So are you? I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to take up all the time, but
it's your show now. You called in. When the caller calls in, it becomes their show.
All right, that's why I got you on the payroll, Carlos. All right, but so my next thing. So Ben, are you a star player guy or are you like a meat and potatoes guy?
I can go back and forth, and I can go both ways with it. this weekend really showed me, like I was saying earlier, there was a kind of a loophole where you could stack skills and not have to pay. You didn't have to pay any penalty to stack them, and that made me. I just didn't take any stars because it was just way easier to put like 2 skills on each of my rats. In the World Cup where you can't stack skills, I think I'm going to go for the star when I can. Even if it costs me a couple of skills, just because you can't stack them. And they just made it so bad. They like, you can stack them, but it'll cost you your double and your single. And it's like, that's just nuts.
Yeah.
You know? So you're looking at putting, if you want to put, I think it was, if you want to put 2 primaries on a guy, it would have equated to putting 4 skills on them. You're eating 4 of your skills. It's nuts.
3. It's 3.
Like that,
It is. But I still think there's value because, like I said, so when I first got the rules, I ignored it because I wasn't going to go. And then my friend, he's like, dude, just go. It'll be fun. Like, I don't care. Just go. I was like, okay, fine. So I ended up going, and I was looking at the rules. I was like, Tomb Kings stood out immediately, and having a Mighty Blow, Tackle, Blitz Raw. Stacking those skills, you're not losing much because you are getting more support on the front end. So you're really just losing a skill. So I was just like, that could be really deadly because there are going to be a lot of elf teams. Tomb Kings are slow. You kind of
Who's going to pick up the ball for you though?
Well, the sure hands throw raw. So
okay.
Yeah, the only issue with them is if it rains, and I've gotten a couple of my friends have started getting into Tomb Kings because I do think they are really good. It's just that
dude,
they're not for like they appeal to beginning players, and I think that's why a lot of beginners pick them up. But then once you really analyze them and you understand, they're actually really good. They're just hard to play.
Yeah. No, it takes a positional mindset for sure. But if you can do that like we saw last year, the past 2 years, I think they finished top 6, 2022 or 2021, 2022. They're like top 7 or 8. Like they're doing great. And right now, the last month, they were at like 5th or something.
Yeah.
So
they're nuts.
Yeah, they have a high ceiling. There's a lot of potential there, but they also have a very low floor. Like when things go bad, it can go really, really bad.
Their players are cheap. They have a lot of strength. It's just like the opposite of an elf team, and I don't know. They're so.
I feel like the dwarves is a safer go for me because they have a low floor. Like they're just kind of it can't go that bad.
Right.
My problem is
it should.
It shouldn't. It has, but it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, there's all that regenerate. That's a crazy thing. The problem for me is that undead of any variety just don't do it for me, like thematically. Like I just can't
Agreed.
get behind.
Really?
Ditto.
Really?
I just can't get behind.
Really? Why?
I don't know.
I can't immerse myself in that theme. Like
undead are bad.
It's not how I make friends. I don't dig them up and make them.
Turn undead. Like, it's maybe it's just something weird in me, but like I like the regenerate. I like it, but I also think that I just can't do the theme. And if I could maybe reskin them to something I liked, maybe. But like I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I know, and that's where my mind is, and that's why like I got to get past some of that stuff because like I can't be a really good player if I can't get over. Because that's another reason why dwarves. Dwarves just don't do it for me. Like I don't like the. Yeah. I don't know. They just don't do it for me. Like they're just too caricaturized, Yeah. So I don't know. But I'm looking for something.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
And I've been playing since 2019, and I've yet to run a team with star players. Period. I have not done it. I don't know. I feel like it's. I don't know. I don't know how to. I just can't say why. I don't know if it feels right, or if it feels wrong, or if it feels like it's such a niche player like I feel like I'm going to pick the wrong one that doesn't fit in with my style or the team, and that's so much money to invest into it, and it takes away from the builds that I'm used to. That I've never done it, not in a league and not in a tournament, and I don't think it'll happen anytime in the near future.
Well, I mean, if you ever need advice, hit me up whenever, dude. I help a lot of people.
You can be my first. There you go, Lowen. You'll be my first.
You can't go wrong with Griff. He doesn't do anything.
But then it feels like cheating. Like that was lazy. I don't know.
That's my thing. Is I do sometimes feel like it is a little bit lazy to run Griff or Morg or.
What am I talking about? I'm playing the dwarf team. What can I speak about lazy?
Right.
I'm already lazy to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm
acting like I'm high and mighty and got some morals here.
Right.
But then just pick a cool model pick a cool model for Griff and then run them that way.
Right. No. Yeah, but it's funny you said that about like not being able to get behind something. I had this. There's this tournament in Idaho that I'm planning on going to, and they're having like giants.
Yeah.
And I could not for the life of me come up with I had all, so when I get ready for a tournament, I sit down and I get up about like 8 teams, right? And then I kind of cross those off and I go over okay, will I be able to get what I want to get done? Like what trophies would this team allow me to play for? And what's my end goal? And if this goes right, so it takes a lot of planning. And so I'm trying to plan for this tourney, and it's 1,100 TV, so it's really tight. And you get giants. So I'm just how am I supposed to combat the opposing team plus their giant? And I'm the easy way is to just choose orcs. So I have AV9 everywhere. I can put block on the big end plus a giant. I was okay, I'll win that for sure. But it's it's too easy. And so I don't want to do that. So then what are my alternatives? So I came up with 4 or 5 teams. But then I'm those teams are going to get wrecked by orcs. And then if I pick Skaven, I know there's going to be a lot of stunty teams because there's a lot of stunty support. So I'm just I'm going to get wrecked on that end too. So I'm just what?
Pick it. Do you want rock? Do you want paper? Do you want scissor?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which one do you want?
Yeah.
I will tell you.
It's tough.
We did a giant tournament here not too long ago, a couple months ago, and the winner was an orc coach. It was Florida.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
But he ran the bomber star, and it was just it was good.
Yes, exactly.
It's you just throw the feet of the giant, you keep the giant down.
Robert Eddie's asking, when is the Idaho tournament?
I believe it's May 13th.
All right, May 13th, Rob.
Are they doing anything to protect the giant, where he can't be eliminated, or can he actually be eliminated?
Oh no! It's free games. So that was where once I called on my 4 or 5 teams, that's where I started. Okay, I started making contingency plans. Okay, I can weather this storm here. I can't do this. So my goal is to eliminate the giant first turn that's able, and then hope that superior positioning, allows me to win. But like I said, every list I came up with just falls short to orcs. So I'm kind of going in I'm not going to win this one. Hopefully I can get best defense or something, but it is rough.
Giants are silly, and then we had a rule where the worst he could do is become stunned, and if he was going to be casualtied, he'd be stunned for 2 turns. Just because they wanted to make sure that you couldn't just foul them out or something. But at the end of the day, it didn't make much of a difference. A lot of the hate was focused on the giant and just.
It's an aggro.
Yeah.
It draws aggro.
Yeah. I feel like it has to be, and especially so. I was talking to my buddy. He's going to take orcs with bomber plus the giant. And so I'm just how do I compete with that? So, so I reached out to a buddy. He and I were talking. And he was like, you know what? he was impressed with all the scenarios I came up with. And he's like, dude, it sounds like your best bet is to play stunty. And I was like, yeah, it would be, except I don't play stunties. Like, that's a glaring hole in my game. And I'm just like, darn it, man. Like, I need to fix this, but I don't want to. Like, I don't want to just go and play stunties because
Orcs,
yeah, you know, like
Orcs
I
with
feel,
Pogo
yeah.
Stick Star, man. Orcs with what's his
Right.
name? What is his name? Shit. I don't know. The Pogo Stick Star is built for Orcs, though. It's nuts. It's like giving your Orcs a Skaven lineman or a gutter
Yes.
runner or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. I might bring Nurgle again, just because I know that there's gonna be multiple bombers and also to try to mess with the opposing giants. Like
That's
you have to roll 2 2+ to blitz.
Scrappa.
So
Is that our Pogo
Scrappa,
Pogo
yeah.
Star Scrappa?
Yeah. Oh, Scrappa. Yeah. I love Scrappa.
yeah,
Our
no,
friends
your
in North
Nurgle
Carolina
idea-
keeping up.
Your Nurgle idea is actually really good. I like that because also it kind of negates some of the throw teammate stuff that you see. And
Yes,
all-
Wilhelm
exactly.
Cheney being a giant killer. So if they can't be, if they can be eliminated, that's an option.
Well, no. So I thought about that, but the Giants' strength 7, Wilhelm's strength 4, so that immediately crossed him off. Like he doesn't have Dauntless, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
Carla's got Dauntless.
yeah,
I don't know if she can make that jump. Or there's the
Right.
Troll Slayer guy who's got Dauntless too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well, yeah.
my thing with the
like I said, I
Giants,
started this conversation. Yeah, I started this conversation by saying I'm a man of good moral hygiene, so I can't ever have a troll player. But I don't play dwarves. We'll tell you that.
I think just avoiding the giant is the way to go, and that's kind of how I play with Morg too. Is if someone's running Morg, I feel like it's time for a sacrificial, somebody to go take care of him or do something. Because
At least tie him up.
yeah, just tie him up and hope
But
for the
he's
best.
got 6 movement, dude. He's
I
got 6
know.
movement though, so you can't it's. I think it's gonna have to be just like go at him, like hope that they blitz someone and like get overzealous and follow up. And I'm just going all in, like he has to go.
Well, the
That's
common
so I was
mistake
thinking.
is that they'll use the multi-block right away and they'll just push.
Yes,
everybody
exactly. That's what I'm hoping for.
off. It's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
whoops. So
Yeah. So I'm hoping like beast. So I was even thinking undead. Like I start with 2 mummies with mighty blow plus the giant. Like I'd never get tourneys where I get 2 mighty blow, let alone 3. So I think that, and plus I was gonna do 2 mummies, and I was gonna hire Bryce. The
it's,
star player chainsaw and just get the +4 on the blitz on the opposing giant.
I think the
That was
giant,
fun.
in those uphill blocks with a werewolf wouldn't actually be that bad if you gave the werewolf block, because now you're looking at 1 or 2 units of support, so you get a 2 die uphill, and you're looking for a POW, a block, anything, and you get those claws. Baby.
Yeah, so it's a
Right, claws.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would be, but it's such a risk. Like
It is.
you're
That's what
only
your
gonna
best
get,
players
like I
do.
said, yeah, and it's only 1100 TV, so it's like you're not even gonna have. You're gonna have 2 rerolls at most. So I think going a different route. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
envy
yeah.
your choices there.
You got some decisions to make.
Yeah, dude.
You got till May
Yeah,
though, right?
definitely.
You got till May to figure
Oh
this
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I feel like every tournament,
Yeah,
there's
I'll-
like, I want to run 2 rosters. I have like a stunty roster and then like my winning roster. Like I want to run both. So I want to play for stunty and I want to play for like being good.
Have we seen those style of tournaments done yet? Well, what we used to call an X-wing hangar like a hangar bay.
Oh,
So you show up to each match. You come to the tournament with 2 rosters, and you show up to the match,
So
and you pass your
Yeah.
rosters to the opponent so he can see what your options are. and then you each secretly pick one of your two, and then you both reveal at the same time. So looking at my two toolboxes and looking at what your options are, I decide which of my two is going to be the best against your two. Then we reveal at the same time, and that's our match. Have we seen that?
Yeah. So So I have heard of that over in Europe for sevens. That is a thing for sevens tournaments over there.
I think
haven't
that
heard it
makes
with
sevens
11.
a lot better.
Dude,
like
that'd
that.
be awesome.
All right, challenge
Yeah.
accepted. We'll make that happen. We'll make that a Florida thing. Hangar
It's
Bay is what we called it in
Sevens
X-Wing.
become stale, and it's my favorite format. So I don't like to see it stale like that. So I think that could make it different.
Yeah. So I actually got hooked on sevens at LVO. So I'm dying to play some sevens. I haven't had a chance to play anymore yet, but I do want to play more sevens.
March 28th, right here in Ocala. Come join us.
All the way to
Too
Florida.
soon, dude.
Need more planning. We get it. 2023 is going to be a busy
Right.
year, man. Like, I already feel it. 2023 is
Yeah,
going to be a busy, busy
like
year.
16, 18-hour drive for you, like what, Colorado? No, wait, that's 30 hours.
Yeah.
No big deal, 30 hours. No
Right.
big deal.
Right.
Strap on a
God.
Depends diaper,
Yeah,
Yeah,
inject the
yeah,
Mountain
may as
Dew,
well,
and
yeah.
just go.
pot of coffee, you're ready to go.
TJ, man, we
No, I'm
appreciate
glad-
you calling
I'm-
in to
I'm glad
kill
you're
out the
coming
show
down
with
for
some great
Cats.
convo.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No. Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate you,
Really
Bobby.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Great call. That was a great call.
Yeah,
I'm glad he because he had been joking about calling in the whole night, but then after Robert Eddy called, he's like, I can't call in after a dwarf. That just feels dirty. Like,
I'm always interested to see because there's like a couple of people that like I don't want to say they're like Blood Bowl celebrities, but like they are kind of to an extent, maybe not because they're always the best players, but just because they post a lot and they're prevalent in the community. And I think he's on the way for that. He's on the way to be like one of the Blood Bowl celebrities because it's like I see him just going out to do like everything. I'm like, oh, there's a tournament, put pictures up of a tournament. Oh, he's there, So it's cool to see some of the people that try to make it out to all the things.
yeah, to take time and listen to us banter about
Yeah.
nothing for 2 hours. Like it worked. We thought this
Yeah.
was going to be a quick, easy show, but man, this time flew. We had a great time. Another successful episode.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a pleasure, and I'm glad to have a couple people that enjoy our banter, and maybe some people will watch it afterwards. I know it's Friday night and everybody should be out partying and playing Blood Bowl. So maybe
It'll be there. It'll be up on the YouTubes on the Beans and Dice channel. So for the folks who didn't get a chance to watch it live, share it with your friends. Let them know where to find it. They can catch up on what we've been up to and what you've been up to for our callers. So we appreciate everyone in the chat that chimed in, and especially all those that took the time and energy to actually call in. We thank you. We're going to do this again probably once a month now. It's kind of been our cadence.
I think
At least
so.
once a month of doing this. So once we know more about the next date, we will post up. Outside of that,
You guys give us some feedback on what you want to see too. Like if you think Fridays work or if you think Sundays work or whatever it is, we'll try to make it work as best we can. And if you have a certain subject you'd like us to explore or certain guests you'd like us to have, we'd love to have that too. Usually we have James here to kind of back us up, and he's a cesspool of knowledge. but no, there's other things too. Like I love the idea of doing a fumble thing. Like we could just play some fumble and play around with it and show some people that haven't.
And I'm being a little selfish when I say it because I kind of want that coaching to walk through that process and that setup and that play. So that's something that we'll have to at least set up before the next episode.
Yeah, but kudos to the people that run that. Like it can't be easy, and I think some of that's where I kind of give like the benefit of the doubt to people that run the NAF and that people that run the fumble and stuff. And then I'm critical of like Blood Bowl 3, who is funded by a
for-profit organization,
for-profit corporation, Big Ben Entertainment. It's just like let's reward the people in our community that are doing something beneficial to the community. So, but anyway, great talk. I will talk to you guys again soon. And if you run into me at TKC, World Cup,
U.S. Open,
U.S. Open, Chaos Cup, come by, say hi, buy me a beer. I'll drink it. No, but really, say hey and let yourself be known, because like I said, I'm oblivious sometimes and I get wrapped up in my own stuff. So
yeah, shake a hand and tell us where you know us from.
Yeah, tell us where you know us from. Say hi. Share a story, swap a story.
It's been fun, Ben.
Always.
To you folks at home, have a good night. Don't forget, Beatings and Dice podcast. Every Thursday night, we do a live call-in show about board games and stuff. So if you're into board games, that's your world, join me there. I take phone calls during that time. And in about a month, we will do this again, take more phone calls, and hopefully update y'all on the 28th of March, the Sevens tournament in Ocala. We give you an update on that by the time we do this show again. We'll wrap it up. We'll catch you all on the next one. Good night, everybody.